I can't do a drum roll. Don't even know why I tried it. My name is Josh. This is a Sunday devotion without drum rolls ever again. What is up? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Sunday Devotion. My name is Josh. So glad that you are here because today we start a brand new series. It's called Waitlisted. And in this series, we're going to talk about four different stories about people who had to wait. Maybe you can relate, and maybe you are really bad at it. We're going to meet some people that were also not great at waiting, because who is? But anyway, we're going to look at four stories about people who had to wait. Now, before we talk about these Bible characters or Bible stories, let's also point out that just because it happened to someone in the Bible doesn't mean that it will necessarily happen to you. Or just because somebody does something that's in the Bible doesn't mean you should do that. Like, unless your name is Jesus, or unless the character's name is Jesus, you shouldn't try to be exactly like a Bible character start to finish. So essentially, we're going to meet a lot of people that had some flaws and a lot of people that failed at what they were doing. And a lot of Bible stories teach us from the failures of those characters, because we are people, we fail, and hopefully we learn a lot there. So today's story, Abraham and Sarah. God comes to Abraham and says, "From you, many of my people will come. You will be just a father of many, just a lot, it's even hard, just a lot of people from you." And so this is a huge promise, because Abraham is an ordinary guy, like just a dude, just getting on. He's getting up in age. He's got a wife. At this point, his name is Abram, and his wife's name is Sarai. She would later become Sarah. And here's why this is such a big deal, is because at the time, they didn't have any kids. And they're old. Like, old. By the time we get to, I think it's Genesis chapter 16, Abraham's about to be 100, and his wife is about to be 99. And God promises just the most people you could ever imagine to flow through him. So here's where the paraphrasing begins. Time goes on. It doesn't happen. They get impatient. Abram visits with God again, and he reassures him, hey, this is going to happen. The stars in the sky. That's where that came in. Later, they get impatient. Sarai says, well, what if I gave you over to my slave girl, and then you could have, Abram, you could have a child with her? And so they do, and they have a kid. So that's what I meant when I said we shouldn't, just because a Bible character did it doesn't mean that it's okay for us, because eventually Hagar had Ishmael, but when she was pregnant, there was all this, animosity and tension between Sarai and Hagar that eventually, they treated each other so badly, and Sarai treated her so badly that she ran away with the kid. Crazy. So then we get to the point where Abram visits with God again, and God reassures Abram, hey, this is going to happen. Actually, while we're here, I want to change your name to Abraham, because that means father of many nations. It's this whole thing. Oh, and your wife's name, her name is Sarah. And you guys she's going to have a kid. And he was like, that was when Abraham literally LOL'd at God. He was like, I'm about to be 100. She's 99. You think that we're going to be having babies? And God was just like, yeah. And you're going to name him Isaac. And we're going to go from there. And you need to kind of make a covenant with me. This is our deal. This is our agreement. And so then, and again, this is one of those Bible stories that we don't really tell everybody about, but Abraham and all the men completed their covenant with God via circumcision at 99 years old. Oof. Okay, moving on. What I'm trying to say is, our bigger point today as we talk about waiting, and week one that we talk about waiting, is God has a plan, even if we have to wait for it. Sometimes we get tired of waiting, so we decide to take matters into our own hands. Sarah did that. Didn't work out great. at all. Although Ishmael did eventually get the same blessing from God that Abraham and all his descendants got, so it worked out well for him, but it was really rough going there for a while. And then sometimes we get tired of waiting and then we start to think, is God hearing me? Or does God even care? Or what is going on? Or what is wrong? We start to list this string of questions that almost becomes impossible to recover from. Maybe that's where you are right now. Maybe you're waiting for something to change. Maybe you're waiting for your heart to change. I don't know. Maybe you're waiting for a promise to be delivered. Maybe you're just waiting for a new start. Maybe you're waiting on God for something. I don't know. I know that waiting can be tough. But if you hang in there and trust that God has a plan, I think it's going to pay off. Actually, I'll tell you what, there are 4 things that we can do, and you don't have to do all 4. Pick one. Pick one of these 4 things. We'll put them on the screen. You can easily do one of these things. Let's just see if your week gets any better if you choose one of these 4. Number 1, just believe this statement: God can be trusted. You don't have to like the timing. You don't have to like the means. But God always delivers. Number 2, we don't have to figure it all out. What if you believe that this week, that you don't have to figure everything out, that you can be okay with not knowing everything, without having every single detail, and then trusting that God, or maybe even someone else, maybe a friend, a family member, or anyone is going to follow through with a promise. Number 3, God's plans are better than anything we could ever imagine. We've talked about that already, that, Abraham and Sarah might have had a plan for their family or had an idea for it, but God goes, well, actually, you're going to be the father of like many nations, like stars in the sky amount of nations. That's crazy. Who would have ever dreamed that? But God had a plan, and he put it into action. And finally, number 4, the 4th thing that you can believe this week, even when we get tired of waiting, God never gets tired of being gracious and compassionate. Even when we continue to screw up, even when we think we have to know everything, or that we do know everything, that our plan is better, or that our dreams are wilder, or whatever the case may be, every time we don't trust God, God still responds with grace and compassion. I hope this week you can find one of those 4 things and just believe it. Believe it for 7 days, that can God be trusted? I don't have to figure all of this out. God's plans are way better than mine, and God never gets tired of being gracious and compassionate. Can you believe one of those 4 things for 7 days? And let's see if your world changes at all. Hey, thanks for sticking with us. Hope you didn't have to wait too long to get to the end of this video, but we're excited about the series. It's going to be great. Thanks for watching, and until next time, be well.